Group Pet+Shura Field+Cool Text+Plot+Brainless Text, Xiaobaiwen, if there are any thunderous plots, please consciously skip them. Please tolerate my crazy works from 4 years ago. Feng Tianling died gracefully, she was smashed to death by money unexpectedly, her soul pierced through the world of cultivation. She had planned to be cool, but found herself wearing a cultivation article called The Heart of a Big Boss. She's still a cannon fodder supporting actress. It's not unexpected for her to make a comeback. Helplessly, the female protagonist Lin Xiaoyin remained pure, making Feng Tianling unable to help but hug her thighs tightly. So, Feng Tianling carried the male lead and abducted Lin Xiaoyin back home. Male-dominated online snatching upgrade to a refreshing article, with the main storyline soaring. First of all, there is no male lead before ascending to the spiritual realm, only male partners. After ascending to the spiritual realm, my mind twitched and I would write about the male lead. Most male leads have single arrows pointing towards the female lead, and there is a large Shura field where the group pet female lead debuts in the 3rd position. The female protagonist has high talent and is beautiful. In my writing, she is the most beautiful in the world, with a lively and sarcastic personality. Her temperament is like that of Loli's appearance and her heart. I never abuse the female protagonist in my writing. The female protagonist is here to cultivate immortality, and she can't even be casual and carefree. She even cultivates a fairy-like board. The main opportunity for the female protagonist to cultivate her sword sound is to give her an insight into the meaning of the sword and improve her cultivation level. Other external objects, such as the golden finger, are generally not used by the female protagonist, and she always relies on herself. The introduction is incompetent and the content is very exciting. P.S. The female protagonist has a likable personality, is good-looking, and has high cultivation and talent. People who like her have no flaws at all. I would also like to remind you that the female protagonist's cultivation can lead to injury and defeat, and she can also become stronger through repeated trials and tribulations. Chapter 1. G.A. Lu, Resurrected in a Book. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Feng Tianling was wearing 2 black circles under her eyes, looking at the novel on the computer screen. As she was about to read the last chapter, her eyes were shining with light. Click to enter the next chapter and see the content. Feng Tianling was so angry that the table was about to flip over. TM is gone. That's right. Feng Tianling has fallen in love with an upgraded and refreshing article called The Heart of the Big Boss. Ahem, aside from the name, this is a normal cultivation article. To be honest, this kind of novel is very appealing to the female protagonist who is as beautiful as flowers with long legs and upgrades all the way to become a beautiful man. Especially the female protagonist Lin Xiaoyin, who is rational and wise, has a cold personality and a high and cold goddess style. The description in the article portrays the female protagonist as a cold flower of the mountains. Of course, this kind of personality that sparks a beautiful man is really sweet. So, Feng Tianling stayed up late to finish reading the book. But there was no ending. There is no other reason, the author went to talk about sweet love and didn't have time to write. Ah! This despicable author, even if he hangs on his readers, actually sprinkles dog food in public. Of course, not only Feng Tianling complained, the review section of this book has long been filled with complaints. Feng Tianling turned off the computer directly, seemingly unable to relieve his anger. He kicked again and then stood up and stretched lazily, his peach blossom blooming Danfang eyes squinting lazily. Computer. Did I make a mistake? Crying, Feng Tianling touched her stomach and decided to order takeout. It's a joke. Will a homestead girl go downstairs to buy food? Feng Tianling picked up her phone, right. No electricity, pick up phone number 2, okay. There's no electricity either. Moving on to phone 3, phone 4. Feng Tianling supported his forehead, speechless. Do you want to stop buying a phone? Forget it, we still have to run a long distance. Feng Tianling looked at the computer again and opened it without hesitation. Why is the computer still broken? Damn it. Feng Tianling walked downstairs without any attachment. Feng Tianling went to the small stall and said, "Boss, come and have a bowl of wonton." The boss soon served a bowl of hot wonton. Feng Tianling quickly finished his meal and wiped his mouth with satisfaction. Feng Tianling. Boss, check out. The boss smiled and said, 5 yuan per bowl. Feng Tianling touched her pocket and found only a few supreme cards. That is. She didn't have any change. Feng Tianling looked at the boss awkwardly and said, "Can you swipe your card?" The boss's smile stiffened. If he could swipe his card, would he still set up a small stall? The boss said, "No way. Feng Tianling. You're too rich, blame me." Under the gaze of the boss, Feng Tianling said, "Can you lend me your phone? I'll call someone to deliver the money." The boss thought it was troublesome and saw another little girl, so he said, "No, I'll treat you to this meal. Next time I bring money, remember to come here." Feng Tianling gratefully said, "You are a good person." The boss opened his eyes wide and was inexplicably awarded a good person card. After Feng Tianling went out, she borrowed a phone and asked her butler to deliver money. In less than 5 minutes, several Ferraris appeared in front of Feng Tianling. Those that were super cool, of course. This is her previous style, but she still likes these things now. She also reads novels that are cool and awesome. "Miss, the money you want." The butler threw a large burlap bag in one hand. Feng Tianling was directly smashed to death. Did Feng Tianling die like this? Feng Tianling said, "Even if I die, give me another way to die. Being beaten to death by money, hehe, I guess if I say it out loud, I'll be envied by others." Of course, Feng Tianling was unconscious and completely plunged into darkness. Feng Tianling wanted to open her eyes again, but found herself unable to do so. "But I can feel like I'm still alive, but..." She seems to have shrunk very small. Is it difficult for her to dress up like a blind baby? Her name is Feng Tianling. Xiang Ziqian, if you take her to a place where no one knows, you must not let her get hurt. This voice is very beautiful, it's a woman's voice, it should be the original mother. "Okay," said Xiang Ziqian. Feng Yingyao touched Feng Tianling's face and murmured, "I can't bear to part with you." Feng Tianling felt the coolness and lost consciousness. Upon waking up again, Feng Tianling could open her eyes because there was no glaring light inside the room. The purpose is to decorate with antique charm, and Feng Tianling speculates that she may have gone to ancient times. Feng Tianling's small eyes wandered around, surveying the world. "Mother, is this the new sister?" A little boy ran to Feng Tianling's side and looked at him. "Chen, she will become your younger sister Ling in the future. You should take good care of her, okay?" The gentlewoman held Feng Yuchen and looked at Feng Tianling together. Feng Tianling looked at this one big and one small, blinking and showing off her cuteness. Feng Yuchen smiled and said, "Mother, my sister is so cute." Luo Yu touched Feng Yuchen's head and said, "All right, don't disturb your sister's rest." Feng Yuchen lowered her head and said in disappointment, "All right, mother." Luo Yu said, "Go and play by yourself." Feng Yuchen responded and quickly ran out to find his companions. He wanted to tell them that he had a younger sister. It is difficult for cultivators to conceive offspring, so most of them are only children. It is difficult for them to have a younger brother or sister. So, having a younger sister is indeed something worth showing off. After being fed milk, Feng Tianling fell asleep again. Although Feng Tianling didn't really want to sleep, she couldn't control herself. When it comes to drinking milk, she's going to be so ashamed. Although I don't understand what my situation is, one thing I can confirm is that she is a child of a wealthy family. There are also things like my mother. She didn't quite hear the conversation she heard when she first wore it, maybe because her ears hadn't fully developed yet. So, she no longer delves into it. Now whoever raises her, she calls her mother. Feng Tianling has been living a comfortable life for a month, sleeping and eating every day, and has been nurtured into a chubby little doll. Feng Tianling also understood this world. It is a world of cultivating immortals, with strong abilities and a long history. Her current identity is Feng Tianling, the legitimate daughter of the Feng family. The Feng family is a first-class family with a pure family tradition and a harmonious family. Feng Tianling really likes this family, but if we can ignore her identity as a cannon fodder supporting actress. That's right, her identity matches that of a female supporting role in the movie she watched, The Heart of a Big Boss, which had a lot of roles. As for why cannon fodder? Because every female supporting character always falls in love with the male lead or male supporting character, and in the later stages, they either blacken out or die to save them. She happened to fall in love with the male lead as a female supporting character, and eventually died in a secret realm to save him. In fact, it can't be considered a rescue. It's just that I was accidentally slapped into the ancient battlefield by the demon cultivator, which is equivalent to a chaotic burial mound. The ending should be 100 ghosts dismembering. To be honest, the female supporting character with the same name as her is a positive character in the article, so the author was also very good at the role of Feng Tianling in the early stage, just not as good as the female lead and male lead. However, Feng Tianling didn't pay much attention either. She already knew the plot, so just don't provoke the male lead. So, Feng Tianling no longer worries. Chapter 2. Daily Life of Little Bastard Children. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Feng Tianling lies motionless in bed all day long, and occasionally Feng Yuchen comes to play with her, but it's also his one-sided play. So, Feng Tianling, who was particularly bored, thought of practicing. Since knowing her supporting role, Feng Tianling breathed a sigh of relief. She has spiritual roots and is not bad. Feng Tianling didn't know how to perceive spiritual power, so she kept thinking and trying to see if there might be any miracles. After a long time, Feng Tianling finally fell asleep. Feng Tianling watched as a sudden flash of light appeared in the darkness, and then more and more light balls appeared. Feng Tianling looked at these light balls and guessed that they were spiritual power, which made him ecstatic. Feng Tianling randomly hugged some light balls, which seemed to have no fear. After coming into contact with Feng Tianling, they seemed to have come into contact with some heavenly and earthly treasures, and a bee pupa entered. Feng Tianling felt a powerful force attacking her, and her heart was startled, afraid that these spiritual powers would break her meridians. However, her worries were unnecessary. Her meridians seemed to be very strong, and all of these spiritual energy rushed in. She, who had not been exposed to spiritual energy, was just not adapting at first. So Feng Tianling absorbed spiritual power with peace of mind. Spiritual power flowed away from Feng Tianling's body, eventually converging into her elixir field and transforming into a lump of qi. Feng Tianling didn't know what was going on, but she could also guess one or two. This should be what we call entering the refining phase. Feng Tianling opened his eyes and noticed that no one was paying attention to her. He couldn't help but sigh. She didn't want to be treated like a monster. After all, how many beings in the cultivation world can introduce qi into the body during infancy? Ling Er. Xiang Ziqian quickly walked in from outside the door. Xiang Ziqian picked up Feng Tianling, his handsome yet cold face softened a bit. Feng Tianling kept staring at Xiang Ziqian, spitting, as if he were a flower lover. Feng Tianling knows that most people in the cultivation world are beautiful men and women, but there are still people with exceptional talents and looks. Xiang Ziqian is obviously of the outstanding type, but Feng Tianling has already placed him in the category of elders, so it is just to attract his beauty fans. Xiang Ziqian looked at Feng Tianling with a silly smile on his face, and couldn't help but laugh. This is really cute. Xiang Ziqian pinched Feng Tianling's face, causing Feng Tianling to scream loudly. Xiang Ziqian looked at Feng Tianling and suddenly noticed a fluctuation of spiritual energy on her body. Upon inspection, Feng Tianling had already entered the first level of gas refining. Xiang Ziqian murmured, the innate spiritual body. Feng Tianling said, you speak louder, I can't hear you clearly. Xiang Ziqian suddenly punctured her hand and took a drop of blood towards a jade pendant. Feng Tianling screamed in pain, saying that in modern times, she is a person who is so painful even after taking a small bite. Suddenly, Feng Tianling felt an inexplicable connection between herself and the jade pendant. The jade pendant transmitted information to her through this contact. The jade pendant is a delicate soft jade, which is a space and can be upgraded. Anyway, it is a super powerful artifact. Feng Tianling opened his hazy eyes, and Xiang Ziqian was nowhere to be found. Anyway, he had already left. 3 years later Feng Tianling was already able to speak and walk, and she was moved and relieved to finally get through that period of incontinence. Feng Tianling, who is 3 years old, looks like a finely carved jade doll and is loved by her elders. Under this deceptive appearance, Feng Tianling has already gained the favor of all her elders. Her brother Feng Yuchen often takes her to play with his friends, but unfortunately, she is a mature woman with a beautiful appearance and a mature heart, so she can't play with them. But they didn't feel it, they just competed to call her sister, or invite her to be a guest. Tianling's sister, come and play at my house today, said a bun-faced boy. You, don't try to kidnap my sister. Feng Yuchen approached and hugged Feng Tianling, giving Du a face of, don't expect to succeed, wait for me. Du ignored Feng Yuchen and said to Feng Tianling, Sister Tianling, I'll treat you to delicious food. Feng Tianling said, what's so delicious? Feng Tianling couldn't let go of the delicious food. The cultivators in this immortal world are not fat eaters, which is simply a blessing for a house made like her who loves food. Her life here is no different from modern times, she just turned staying at home playing with her phone into a cultivation. Du said, lotus cake, osmanthus cake, tomatoes on sticks. They are all desserts. Feng Tianling likes both desserts and spicy dishes. For her, the most comfortable thing is to put a sugar in her mouth after eating spicy food. Feng Tianling ran over with a cheerful smile and said, let's go then. Feng Yuchen grabbed Feng Tianling and said, sister, if you want to eat, I'll buy it for you. Du hurriedly said, I recently got a new spiritual fruit. Tianling's sister, come and try it. Feng Yuchen pulled Feng Tianling and said, sister. Feng Tianling. Why are you still being wronged? Feng Tianling thought Feng Yuchen also wanted to go, so he held his hand and said, take my brother with you, okay? Although Du was unwilling, he still nodded, otherwise Feng Tianling might not have come. Feng Yuchen followed Feng Tianling with a happy expression, looking at Du with a triumphant expression. Feng Yuchen doesn't like this Du fish, that's right. This Du fish can always be the first to buy a new pastry from Tianxiang Pavilion, and then lure his sister to his house. My younger sister is so cute. He must guard well. Du saw it and chased after it, and the two naturally started fighting. Feng Tianling was persuading the fight nearby. But it didn't have much effect. Later on, Feng Tianling stopped persuading him, and all men's friendships were made through physical means. Feng Tianling is not the first time to visit the Du family. As soon as she enters the gate, she runs towards the tower in her memory. Sister. Slow down. Don't fall. Feng Yuchen led Feng Tianling. Feng Tianling ran 2 steps, Feng Yuchen took 1 step and surpassed her. You're so angry, _. Short-legged Feng Tianling angrily shook off Feng Yuchen's hand. Feng Yuchen. Why is your sister angry? Feng Tianling ran a few steps in anger, then turned around and made a proud face at Feng Yuchen, ignoring him. Du Yu patted Feng Yuchen and said, "Brother, why don't you give me your sister?" Feng Yuchen came up and shouted, "You dream." Sure enough, this stinky fish came to compete with him for his sister. Du Yu refused to be outdone and shouted, "I will marry my younger sister back home in the future." Feng Yuchen hit and grabbed Du Yu's hair, saying, "You toad want to eat swan meat." Du Yu also fought back, so the two of them fought back. Feng Tianling has already found a pavilion here, which is dedicated to storing food. Because Du Yu often brings her here, everyone here knows Feng Tianling. "Grandma, where's the pastry?" Feng Tianling stared at the food on the table and swallowed. I really can't blame her. If I have to blame her, I'll blame Tianshan Pavilion for the delicious food. Grandma Chen saw Feng Tianling and smiled, saying, "Miss Feng, there's something here." She handed the pastry to Feng Tianling. Feng Tianling quickly stuffed a piece into her mouth, as if someone would compete with her. In no time, Feng Tianling's mouth was covered up, and her cheeks were bulging on both sides, very cute. In the corner that Feng Tianling couldn't see, there was a young man staring at her. Perhaps his gaze was too burning. Feng Tianling turned around and found nothing, so he continued to eat her food. Chapter 3. Male Matchmaker on the Table. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The boy covered his jumping chest behind the wall and breathed a sigh of relief when he noticed that Feng Tianling had not paid attention to him. That's right. He has been reborn. How incredible. He still vividly remembers the moment when he died in the previous life. He is the legitimate son of the Du family, but his parents passed away early. In his previous life, he was known as the scapegoat of his father and mother, so he developed a cowardly personality and became increasingly solitary and unpopular. People like him who live in the dark world need light and hope the most. And Feng Tianling is the light that illuminates him. She is so dazzling, beautiful, powerful, and confident that she has taken over. He is simply a perfect person. It was also her who brought him out of the mud and exposed him to a wider world, which was also the reason why he was fortunate enough to break through the golden elixir in the previous life. Otherwise, with his nature, he wouldn't even be able to pass the heart magic calamity. Unfortunately, a perfect person like Feng Tianling did not soar for any other reason. She fell in love with a cold and ruthless, as Du Jiangwen believed, man. Gong Wuxiu. Du Jiangwen's eyes turned red and filled with resentment at the thought of Gong Wuxiu. In this life, he will never let his white moonlight meet him again. Jiangwen, what are you doing here? Du Yu patted Du Jiangwen's shoulder. Du Jiangwen concealed the fierce aura in his eyes and restored his gentle and elegant side. Cousin, I'm here to find something to eat. You don't like dim sum, do you? Du Yu looked along this angle and just saw Feng Tianling eating. You. Du Yu widened his eyes and looked at Du Jiangwen. Du Jiangwen was nervous, but there was no change in his appearance. Du Yu said, all right. Are you also coveting Tianling's sister, kid? Du Jiangwen. He coveted. Although he liked Feng Tianling in the previous life, he didn't say it because he thought he didn't deserve her. In this life, he may have a chance. Du Yu became even more certain of him when he saw this, so he became furious and said, don't be delusional. My sister is mine. Feng Yuchen heard this sentence as soon as he arrived and started arguing again. I said it's my sister. So the two of them started fighting again. Du Jiangwen took advantage of the fight between the two and secretly ran away. Now is not the best time to see Feng Tianling. He hopes to have a strong and confident self standing in front of Feng Tianling. Feng Tianling finished eating and contented herself by touching her stomach. After eating and drinking enough, she went home to rest. She hasn't grown up yet, so the plot hasn't started and there's not much chance. She didn't plan to seize the opportunity of the female protagonist because she needed to become stronger in order to defeat the ultimate boss and open the path of ascension. She doesn't have the leisure to go to the female supporting role to counterattack, maybe she'll be cannon fodder halfway through the counterattack. So, her primary task is to improve her own strength and not compete with the male lead. She has already refined Qi for 5 layers, and at the age of 3, she has refined Qi for 5 layers. No one believes her when she says it. But the fact is, this is still the result of Feng Tianling's overwhelming suppression. She felt like a magnet, with spiritual power constantly entering her body. This is simply a bug, however, no one could tell the hint because the exquisite soft jade helped her conceal her physique and cultivation. Otherwise, her physique would be coveted and the Feng family would not be able to protect her. The only one who knows everything about her is Xiang Ziqian, but he probably won't harm her. Feng Tianling patted the clothes and stopped daydreaming. As long as she becomes stronger, she doesn't have to worry. She is still weak, and even if she knows the danger, she doesn't have the strength to resist. It's better to focus on becoming stronger. Brother. Stop fighting. Stop fighting, this won't kill anyone. Feng Tianling coaxed from the side. However, Feng Yuchen fought hard and didn't notice. Feng Tianling looked at his cheap brother, who was fighting fiercely with Du Yuyu, and stopped shouting. So he silently watched them fight. Feng Yuchen is now 7 years old and has practiced the ancestral martial arts of the Feng family, entering the 6th level of Qi refining. It goes without saying that his appearance is perfect. He is a handsome man, warm and jade-like, holy and shining, perfectly matching his name. She didn't know Du Yuyu, after all, he wasn't from the Feng family, and she didn't know him very well either. She herself is practicing the heavenly source strategy, in the Linglong soft jade, specifically targeting the techniques of her heavenly source body. To be honest, there is everything in Linglong soft jade, including the gold pills for refining Qi and building foundations, as well as the more advanced elixirs, magic treasures, and talismans. The key is spirit stones. There are so many spirit stones in this space that they can regenerate, which means it may be a spirit mine. She is a weak chicken-rich woman sitting on a spiritual mine. If Feng Tianling hadn't always remembered that she had a supporting role, she would have considered herself the female lead. The existence of Linglong soft jade reassured her, as it was her life-saving talisman in the early stages. She touched the soft jade and gave a bitter smile. She still has a dead end in the later stage, with tigers in front and pythons behind, which makes her unable to breathe. However, she has never backed down, knowing that this road is difficult to walk, but she still firmly believes that she can handle it. If she harms her current self due to some unfounded future, then she is wasting her excellent qualifications. Feng Tianling's firm eyes flickered, no one knew what the future would be like. This was a real world, with many things and places that were not found in novels. Novels, on the other hand, only point out where there are copies of treasures, and they can't finish writing about this world. Thinking of this, Feng Tianling Terrace became clearer and its realm slightly relaxed. Feng Tianling suppressed the fluctuation of spiritual power, and she dared not break through outside. Feng Yuchen and Du Yuyu had finished fighting, glanced at each other, saw each other's swollen faces, and burst out laughing heartily. Feng Tianling looked at these two people and rolled his eyes. It was said to be fighting for my younger sister, but in reality, it was just itching on my own. There was no reason to fight, so I came to her for this reason. Feng Tianling wrote a small notebook for these two people and wrote on the cover that men are all big pig hooves. Feng Yuchen, still unsatisfied, took Feng Tianling back to the Feng family. Due to staying outside for a long time and Feng Yuchen returning with a bruised nose and swollen face, the two of them were believed to be fighting outside. As innocent and kind bystanders, Feng Tianling must have vehemently denied it, but it was of no use. Feng Tianling looked at Feng Yuchen with a resentful expression, her small eyes full of, "You little sister's prank." Feng Yuchen looked awkwardly away, only thinking to herself that she would compensate her sister next time. In the following days, Feng Tianling will continue to practice and occasionally learn some spells, but they are all blindly pondered and practiced poorly. Feng Tianling felt even more bored with his spells after practicing, and could only attack from a distance. Moreover, when his mana was depleted, he was just a fragile person waiting to die. Xiang Ziqian would occasionally come back to see Feng Tianling, and if Feng Tianling didn't understand anything during his cultivation, he would ask him. Similarly, Feng Tianling also mentioned that he didn't want to practice the method. Xiang Ziqian didn't say anything, just let Feng Tianling choose what he likes. Xiang Ziqian seems to be busy with something, always missing, but Feng Tianling didn't delve into it. Everyone has their own things to do. Unconsciously, 5 years have passed. Feng Tianling is 8 years old and has become even more delicate and beautiful. His cultivation level has reached 7 levels of qi refining, which is of course the cultivation level displayed by Feng Tianling using soft jade to adjust. Feng Yuchen is a person who likes to boast about her younger sister, talking about her own sister everywhere, so everyone in the city knows that there is a talented and beautiful young legitimate daughter in the Feng family. Feng Tianling stayed at home all year round and practiced alone, so she didn't know about it. If I knew, Feng Tianling would definitely curse loudly. Can you keep a low profile for me? Chapter 4. Going on a long trip. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Feng Tianling broke through, she stabilized her cultivation at the 11th level of qi cultivation, adjusted her cultivation with Linglong's soft jade, and managed it properly. Then, she casually gave herself a cleansing technique and left. As soon as I left, I saw my brother's handsome and extraordinary face, which looked like a banished immortal. If he didn't speak, he would be a towering immortal. But when he spoke, I'm sorry, it broke your imagination. My younger sister always cultivates alone and doesn't play with her older brother. Feng Yuchen looked at Feng Tianling with grievances. Feng Tianling's mouth twitched and rolled his eyes. Brother. You're already an adult, you should learn to play on your own. Feng Yuchen suddenly hugged Feng Tianling and pressed her cheeks together, saying, my sister is so cute. If I don't play with her, I will feel lonely and cold. Feng Tianling expressionlessly pulled apart Feng Yuchen, as her brother fell ill again. Sister control also has a degree. Ah, hello. After being pushed away, Feng Yuchen secretly squatted on the ground and drew circles, with a look of being unattainable. Feng Tianling helped his forehead, but soon someone interrupted the scene. Miss, young master, the head of the family gathers all the young generations. After the maid finished her bow, she quickly expressed her intention to come. Feng Tianling thought for a moment and thought that the sect should be accepting disciples. The plot is about to start, which means she is about to see the female lead. I don't know what the female leader looks like. If she is agreeable, she will be a sister's. Feng Tianling dragged Feng Yuchen lying on the ground and walked all the way to the main hall. Uncle. Second uncle. Hello, brothers and sisters. Feng Tianling is enthusiastic about his family and gets along very well, which makes Feng Tianling very fond. Ling Air. Don't be impolite. Uncle pretended to be angry and looked at the male cultivator next to him. Seeing that he wasn't angry, he breathed a sigh of relief. Feng Tianling looked at the male cultivator, then at her uncle, and awkwardly scratched his head before retreating to the side. A male cultivator is a sect cultivator sent to bring in young children from various aristocratic families. Although his cultivation is not high, at least he represents the sect. The male cultivator spoke mechanically. After all, he had already left many homes and was already tired. Those with spiritual roots and aged between 7 and 15 come out. The children of the Feng family walked out a few times, although not many, there were also 5 or 6. The male cultivator didn't take it seriously and had already become accustomed to it. He started to move on to the next family step by step according to the class. After an hour, all those who had spiritual roots and were of appropriate age were selected, and there were only about 20 in the city. Feng Tianling suddenly felt very lucky, grateful that he had spiritual roots and had exceptional talent. After getting on the spiritual boat, Feng Tianling glanced at the place where he had lived for 8 years from the window and deeply remembered it. He stopped paying attention and looked at the flying boat and the people. "What's your name?" Feng Tianling looked at the thinly dressed little boy sitting in the corner. The little boy looked at Feng Tianling and whispered, "Xiaobaiwen." Feng Tianling thought for a moment and realized that there seems to be such a prominent figure in the book, but there isn't much emphasis on it. I didn't expect her to run into a male supporting role, and I couldn't help but feel sympathy for this child's future breakup. Xiaobaiwen looked at Feng Tianling with a changing expression and couldn't help but wonder, does she know him? But after thinking about it, it's impossible. He is just an illegitimate son with average qualifications. How could a proud person like Feng Tianling know about him? Feng Tianling looked at Xiaobaiwen and said, "The name sounds very nice." Xiaobaiwen said, "Thank you." The first time someone praised him, he felt a bit embarrassed. Feng Tianling patted him and said, "You're quite pleasing to my eye. I recognize you as my friend. I'll cover you up in the future." Forming a good relationship with the male partner is harmless to oneself. Xiaobaiwen said, "Are you willing to make friends with me?" Feng Tianling raised his eyebrows and said, "Why are you being so careful? Is it fake for me to make friends with you?" Xiaobaiwen said, "Okay. Tianling." He carefully glanced at Feng Tianling and couldn't help but feel a little happy when he saw that she didn't pay much attention. No one wants to be friends with him, Feng Tianling is his first friend, and he cherishes it. The speed of the spirit boat is very fast, and it will arrive in no time. Feng Tianling and that group of friends had a great conversation. After all, they came from the same place and can be called fellow villagers. After getting off the spiritual boat, Feng Tianling saw a large square, followed by a cliff with many small islands on top. Feng Tianling has read the original work and knows that this is a new entry-level test, different from the common novel of climbing stairs and mountains. This test measures intelligence and strength, as well as character. For the time being, she didn't think about these things and was eager to see the female lead, so she forgot about it. Feng Tianling swept towards the square, searching for the best-looking but plainly dressed female lead. However, there are too many people to find. Feng Tianling thought for a moment and realized that the female protagonist has a constitution that is prone to trouble. Wherever there is trouble, there will always be a female protagonist. Quickly, Feng Tianling found the accident center. Who is the person standing in the middle with a cold expression and a chill in their cold eyes? Not the female lead. Feng Tianling thought for a moment, it seemed like the scene where the female lead abused the scum. Lin Xiaoyun. Do you think Brother Xiaoyun still likes you? I'll tell you, Brother Xiaoyun has been with me for a long time. A beautiful 14-year-old girl looked arrogantly at the woman in front of her. Lin Xiaoyun's eyes were filled with mockery when she heard the name Xiaoyun. Xiaoyun is nothing, it's just trash that I don't want. Lin Xiaoyun's voice was very pleasant, with a hint of dominance in her calm tone. Feng Tianling's eyes were already filled with stars in excitement. The female lead was too handsome, okay. Compared to the descriptions in the book, what I see in reality is simply stunningly handsome. Feng Tianling has decided to kidnap the female protagonist back home and become the wife of the village suppression. The village suppression best friend. The person named Xiaoyun couldn't help but speak up. What are you talking about? Xiaoyun looked at Lin Xiaoyun displeased. This woman used to only know how to revolve around herself, but recently she has fallen into some evil and become so cold and inhumane, even repeatedly making sarcastic remarks. Xiaoyun's eyes darkened and he decided to teach Lin Xiaoyin a lesson. Feng Tianling looked at him and found that he was gathering spiritual power. Lin Xiaoyin looked at the two people in front of her, they were really a bitch with a dog. I really don't know what evil I fell for in my previous life, so trust them and give them my heart. At the thought of this, Lin Xiaoyin hated them even more. Fortunately, God gave her a chance to start over again, and she must seize it. In this life, she wants to protect her family and friends well, and she wants to move towards a different future. Xiaoyun needed the magic formula and used the fire dragon technique. Although the fire dragon was not like it, it still had a certain power. When Lin Xiaoyin was preparing to counterattack, the fire dragon was scattered by another spell. Feng Tianling withdrew his hand and walked to Lin Xiaoyin's side, saying to Xiaoyun, I'm sorry. When I lost control of my hand just now, I used a spell and scattered your loach. Although I'm sorry, my expression is written with the words, I did it intentionally. Xiaoyun looked at Feng Tianling emerging from somewhere and felt angry. Little brat. Get out of here. Feng Tianling remained calm and composed, and casually retorted. Stinky kid. Who are you scolding, little brat? Your aunt and I are your ancestors. This is not difficult for Xiaoyun. Although Feng Tianling is 8 years old, his height is not particularly high. Compared to the cultivation world with generally long legs, Feng Tianling is considered the shortest among his peers. After hearing this, Xiaoyun angrily shouted, Little dwarf. You're looking for a fight. Feng Tianling forgot that he had just made a move to leave a good impression on the female lead, so he immediately hit her. Indeed, those who oppose the female lead are not good people. However, Feng Tianling fought with peace of mind. This person was just a scumbag, and he even kept a furnace and cauldron. Thinking of this, Feng Tianling became even more ruthless. Yun Xiao has excellent qualifications, and at the age of 15, he practices 8 levels of qi. But for Feng Tianling, who appears to have 7 levels of qi cultivation on the surface but has already reached 11 levels, it is simply a complete abuse. Lin Xiaoyin looked at Feng Tianling, who had beaten the sky blue and swollen, and smiled. I couldn't help but feel a bit fond of this unfamiliar little girl in my heart. She really harbors a grudge against evil, she likes it. And on the other hand, Xiaoyun asked, which devil is this from? He's going to be beaten to death. How terrifying. Chapter 5. Clearance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Feng Tianling rubbed his hands, took a breath, and supported his waist. I'm exhausted. Xiaoyun stared angrily at Feng Tianling, lying on the ground motionless. Sooner or later, I will make you regret it. Feng Tianling looked at Xiaoyun and smiled with a heavy tone. Since that's the case, I'll kill you now to ward off any future troubles. Xiaoyun seemed to have never expected Feng Tianling to say such a thing. He felt a sense of fear in his heart and shouted, You can't kill me. I am the legitimate grandson of the Xiao family. If you kill me, my father will avenge me. Really? What a big breath. Feng Tianling smiled in her heart, finally knowing why the scumbag was so happy. Feng Tianling had no intention of killing him, he still had to keep it for the female lead to kill. Can't my Feng family compare to a small Xiao family? Feng Yuchen said coldly. Feng Tianling looked at Feng Yuchen behind him and smiled. Upon hearing the Feng family, Xiaoyun's expression changed greatly, but then he thought of something and loudly attracted everyone. Your Feng family bullies others with their power. People who heard the sound came to watch, and joining in the fun was their favorite activity among the melon-eating crowd. Xiaoyun sneered, I can't move you, can't I ruin your reputation? At this moment, Lin Xiaoyin walked out and explained the magnitude of the matter with reason and evidence, which would not make anyone suspect it was false. After the melon-eating crowd heard this, they all scolded Xiaoyun and Lin Qiaoer. The sky was full of energy and fled straight away. Lin Chaoer stomped her feet, glared at Lin Xiaoyin with resentment, and then caught up with Xiaoyun. Feng Tianling shook his head and thought to himself, this is still the garbage in the early stage, with weak combat power. The most important thing is the big boss in the later stage. Feng Tianling looked at Lin Xiaoyin, who knew how to be cute. Fairy sister, the bad guys have run away. Lin Xiaoyin looked at Feng Tianling and felt very cute. Blood sprouted all over my face. You're really amazing. In a plain tone, if it's not sincere on the surface, it's easy to be mistaken for mockery. Feng Tianling knew the female lead's personality and didn't feel any disgust. What's your name? Lin Xiaoyin touched Feng Tianling's furry head. Feng Tianling responded with a smile, Feng Tianling. Lin Xiaoyin. Feng Tianling nodded, indicating that she knew her name. Lin Xiaoyin is not good at speaking, so Feng Tianling chatters non-stop. Lin Xiaoyin kept touching Feng Tianling's head, or pinching her face. Lin Xiaoyin only felt a super good touch, although happy, her face did not show it. Feng Tianling has always wanted to take a domineering path, either high or cold, but now it seems that she can only be lowly. Ian. I'll give you something. Feng Tianling took out a jade hairpin, which was a mid-range magical weapon. As soon as it was taken out, it attracted the attention of many people. Everyone looked at Feng Tianling and thought she was a naive girl with a lot of silly money. Where is that magic tool given to someone you just met? Feng Tianling felt the gaze of everyone and also felt strange. The lowest quality items in her exquisite soft jade are all top-grade treasures, and she finally managed to obtain this medium-grade magical tool. Lin Xiaoyin couldn't help but refuse Feng Tianling, thinking that she was young and didn't know the value of these things. No merit, no reward. Then he realized something and added, don't easily trust others in the future. Lin Xiaoyin felt that Feng Tianling was protected too well, to the point of being foolish and not understanding the dangers of human nature. I met her this time. If someone has ulterior motives, they will definitely kill and seize treasures. Feng Tianling looked at the rejected artifact and thought for a moment, feeling a bit low. Does Ian think that mid-range magic tools are not good? I think so. After all, no matter how poor a person is, they shouldn't be so poor that they don't even have magic tools. Upon hearing her words, everyone present fell silent, and Opium fell silent. Child. Do you think everyone is as wealthy as you are? Versailles has a limit. All the poor people present looked silently at Feng Tianling. Feng Tianling chose to ignore their melancholic little gazes. Lin Xiaoyin touched Feng Tianling's head again, knowing that she had no ill intentions, but still couldn't help but remind him. Next time, keep a low profile. This newly recognized younger sister is so cute, and she is still a little rich woman. She must work hard to cultivate and protect her. Feng Tianling. Is she not low-key enough? This test is called 9 Palace Grid, and the rules are as follows. Feng Tianling. What is that? 9 Palace Grid. Is there anyone else who wore it modern? Without much thought, the test began. 9 grid, whether horizontal or vertical, each number is 1.9 and cannot be repeated. This is the bottom rule. However, this is just an IQ test, and in order to achieve the trial effect, the person who set the question has improved the rules. Each island is a number, and there are different illusions or mechanisms within the island that need to be cracked. After cracking, you can obtain the number and fill it in your respective 9 palaces. The time limit is 3 days. Feng Tianling smiled, this test is very unique. She likes it. However, there is a bug in this rule. I didn't say I couldn't ask for help, nor did I say I can't grab numbers. Feng Tianling took the 9 palace grid and saw the numbers on it, starting to think. Feng Tianling was frantically calculating. To be honest, she was not good at science. In order to get into a prestigious university, she put in a lot of perseverance and almost lost her head. She is actually very humble. Feng Tianling calculated for a while and calculated all the numbers needed to fill in the squares. Feng Tianling looked up at the sky and sighed deeply, feeling that he was living longer and longer. I'm just a college student, but it takes half a day to calculate the 9 palaces grid. Sigh. I'm getting sillier over it. Want those amazing female leads in the article to get these things, who can't just calculate the answer at a glance, and then perform the act of flashing blind eyes to gain admiration. Feng Tianling looked at the few people on the square and shook his head. These people were only thinking about getting numbers, but didn't realize they needed them. Moreover, there is a time limit, so doing so is undoubtedly not a waste of time. After thinking about it, she looked at the numbers on the island. Feng Tianling watched as these islands floated in the air, and below was a vast abyss. Cut. She's not afraid. These are all scary to play with. On Lin Xiuyin's side, he was also able to finish calculating the 9 palace grid. When he saw Feng Tianling, he wondered, what are you shaking your legs for? Feng Tianling's face stiffened and he said, really? How come I don't know? Lin Xiuyin. Are you okay? Feng Tianling. It's okay. You go first. Feng Tianling pushed Lin Xiuyin, not wanting to delay the progress of the female lead. Lin Xiuyin patted Feng Tianling's hand with concern. Be careful. Feng Tianling. Go quickly. She said slowly. Feng Tianling continued to look at the numbers on the island, searching for the shortest path to get all the numbers, and then successfully cleared the level. Feng Tianling felt that it would be even better if he could fly in the air and read the numbers on the entire island. Feng Tianling glanced casually and saw a little sister and brother who were practicing some imperial swords. They should have saved the lives of those who fell into the abyss. Suddenly, Feng Tianling thought of something and smiled. Feng Tianling shouted to a young lady who was wielding a sword, beautiful fairy sister. I have something to say to you. Feng Tianling only hopes that this little sister is a kind and kind-hearted person, not the kind that is unfriendly. The female cultivator looked at Feng Tianling and asked in a warm voice. What can I do for you, little sister? Feng Tianling said solemnly and nonsense, I want to experience the feeling of flying. Let the fairy take me on a flight. The nun's face showed confusion and said, we are currently undergoing a trial. Feng Tianling betrayed his cute skills. Just fly a little, it won't waste time. Moreover, the rules do not say that it is not allowed to fly. The female cultivator was struck in the heart by Feng Tianling's cute appearance and agreed in a daze. So let me take you to experience, how about a 15-minute time? Feng Tianling smiled happily and said, thank you, sister. 15 minutes is enough. Feng Tianling imprinted all the numbers in his mind with divine consciousness in the sky. Then she started calculating the route, and in less than 15 minutes, she came up with the best solution. Feng Tianling was overjoyed and said, sister, let me go. I'm fine now. The female cultivator felt that Feng Tianling was very attractive and said, my name is Yunnan Baiyao. If you join the Wanfa sect, you can come find me. Feng Tianling. Yunnan Baiyao. What a unique name, she likes it. Okay, Sister Yunnan. Forgive her for not being able to say the white medicine. Chapter 6. Mini-games invading the immortal cultivation realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Feng Tianling began to jump towards the first island, which was a mechanism island with a number of 6 and a difficulty coefficient of 3 stars. This is the sign on the island. After seeing it, Feng Tianling was even more certain that he was a modern person. And it's also very childish. Please put the picture in front of you back in its original shape. Feng Tianling. Puzzle. Hehe, how it tests intelligence. Feng Tianling quickly pieced together the puzzle and jumped onto the next island. Tetris. Collision is right. Play marbles. Go through the maze. Without any technical content, Feng Tianling went smoothly all the way and looked down upon the person who designed the game in his heart. This is his mother bullying local people. Haven't you seen these things? However, if it were her, she would definitely do it even harder. If you want to play, play bigger. Feng Tianling put the numbers into the 9 palace grid and found that there was still one missing. It's the last number 1. Feng Tianling jumped towards the last island, and the scene quickly changed. This is an illusion. Help. Sister, help me. A little girl struggled in the water. Feng Tianling's eyes froze and her whole body trembled. She quickly reached out to pull her hand and said, Xiao-yi. Don't worry. Sister will come and save you right away. Feng Tianling jumped into the water without even thinking, swam towards her, trying to save her. Feng Tianling went to grab her hand, but couldn't hold it. She was already not good at water, and after a while, she was exhausted. Xiaoyi. Xiaoyi. Feng Tianling shouted, but couldn't reach Xiaoyi. Xiaoyi struggled to stop moving and gradually sank into the water. Sister. Sister. Help. Feng Tianling's eyes were red and he said, Xiao-yi. Don't. Feng Tianling dived into the water, without Xiaoyi's figure, only endless darkness. Feng Tianling felt completely cold all over her body. She felt powerless, hateful, and weak. Sister. Why didn't you save me? Do you also want me to die? You're just like them. Both covet that endless power and that disgusting money. I hate you. I hate you all so much. These few words echoed in Feng Tianling's ear, and he murmured, No. I'm not. Xiaoyi. Listen to me explain. No. Don't. Feng Tianling shed tears and said, I'm sorry. Opening your eyes again, the blue sky and white clouds still enter your eyes. She still can't forget that. At that time, their family mistakenly trusted their cousin's family and was taken power by them. My cousin was jealous of her, so she tied up her most concerned sister and asked her to choose between company shares or younger sister. Although she firmly chose her younger sister, her cousin was malicious and did not let her sister Xiao-yi go. In the end, Xiao-yi was pushed into the water. At that time, she couldn't swim, and even if she jumped down, she couldn't save her younger sister. Instead, her younger sister sacrificed herself to push Feng Tianling up to the surface. Feng Tianling broke through the illusion because her Xiaoyi wouldn't speak to her like that, it's just that she has been resenting herself for years. Feng Tianling stood up, patted the clothes, and put the number 1 into the 9 palace grid. The 9 palace grid was completely filled, emitting a faint white light and transforming into a token. The token is written with the number 1. Feng Tianling held the token and jumped to the opposite bank. Congratulations, little friend, you have successfully cleared the level. Go to the waiting area over there. Feng Tianling nodded, just as she was also tired and wanted to take a break. Feng Tianling moved the bed out when she arrived, then covered it with a blanket and fell asleep. The real people sitting in the hall naturally noticed this little doll who was the first to pass the level. Feng Tianling passed the level in just one day, which surprised them. When they went through this test, they didn't know how to handle these things at all. They just had a black eye and accidentally bumped into the 9 palace grid they had assembled on the last day. Like Feng Tianling, there is no one who did not criticize the designer of this test for having a flawed mind. Even now, there are also many people who stab him as a villain. Under the gaze of a group of big shots, Feng Tianling slept soundly, and without any image she also dreamed of something delicious, smashing her mouth and saying, delicious. Hee hee. Don't run away. A group of real people said, Hello. Wake up. Pay attention to your image. Feng Tianling flipped over and continued to sleep soundly. Feng Tianling woke up the next morning and found that only a few people had successfully cleared the level. He couldn't help but wonder, is it really that difficult? Local little radish head. Sitting and talking doesn't hurt my back. Feng Tianling smashed his mouth and flipped through his storage bag to himself. It seems like he's hungry. Let's eat something first. So, while others were working hard to clear the customs, Feng Tianling was setting up tea and pastries to enjoy. Feng Tianling caused such a big commotion, which angered other people who passed the level. Make a fuss. A female cultivator glared at Feng Tianling. Feng Tianling. She just had a pastry. Feng Tianling didn't pay much attention and continued to eat the pastry, then said with a look of enjoyment, It's really delicious. The female cultivator couldn't stand Feng Tianling's demeanor. You. Then the people around her grabbed her and said a few words, and she stomped her feet. Humph. You wait. Feng Tianling never gave her a glance, nor did he care about those angry, resentful, envious gazes. Feng Tianling saw Lin Xiaoyin sitting aside and leaned in to chat with her. Ian. What do you think of this test? Lin Xiaoyin opened her eyes and nodded thoughtfully, very good. Feng Tianling agreed with a look on her face and said, I also think it's very good. This test not only tested everyone's perseverance, but also tested their reaction and practical abilities, enhancing adaptability. The most important thing is wisdom, of course. Although these things are all modern pediatrics, but treating the people here is high-tech. However, there is also a part that is chi luck. Some people even complete the 9 palaces grid by randomly fighting, which is inseparable from their personal luck. Lin Xiaoyin analyzed, actually, most people can still pass this test. In the previous life, she happened to pass by, so in this life, she quickly found a way to pass the level. Lin Xiaoyin looked at Feng Tianling and praised from her heart, you're very smart. You're the first to arrive. Feng Tianling felt embarrassed when praised and blushed a bit. This is like the feeling of an adult and a child winning a small game and being blindly worshipped by the children. Feng Tianling still drifted away and said, Where? Ian is smart. I'm just a coincidence. Lin Xiaoyin shook her head and said, there's no need to be humble. Feng Tianling scratched his head and said, I'm really sorry. The two of them had a commercial exchange for a while. After 3 days passed quickly, most of the people passed the level, and only a few left this place dejected. Now, come with me to the spirit testing platform to test your qualifications. Feng Tianling and Lin Xiaoyin walked side by side, chatting and laughing, while Feng Yuchen was forgotten behind. Feng Yuchen. My younger sister stopped playing with me, she was abducted and ran away. Feng Tianling looked at Feng Yuchen with an unattainable expression on his face and was very surprised. Brother, what's wrong with you? Feng Yuchen's sorrowful little gaze fell on Feng Tianling and he said, Sister, you have a new love and forgotten your old love. Feng Tianling. What? Do you say, Aotian? Feng Yuchen nodded and spoke involuntarily, since she came, you haven't paid attention to me. Feng Tianling's eyes curved and he said, really? Maybe you're not as good looking as my Aotian. Feng Yuchen. Silently took out a mirror, don't I look good? Feng Tianling couldn't help but laugh as he watched Feng Yuchen's lewd actions. Brother, you're really funny. Lin Xiaoyin. The big man actually carried a mirror with him. Feng Yuchen. Feng Tianling cleared his throat and said, let's go quickly. We'll test our qualifications soon. The qualifications for this test are different. Generally, immortal cultivation families only have spirit beads, which can only determine what the spiritual root is, but cannot determine the purity of physical talent. And here, it can be measured. Feng Tianling is not worried about her physical condition being exposed, because there is Linglong soft jade present. Linglong soft cloud is a divine artifact that cannot be detected. The female protagonist is a Hunyuan spiritual root, which appeared in ancient times but could not be detected, so her radiance was obscured. However, gold will shine wherever it goes, and the female protagonist still relies on superhuman perseverance to walk step by step towards the path of ascension. Chapter 7. Awkwardly praising the leading actor for being brave, make it right. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Feng Tianling looked at the spirit measuring place, surrounded by green mountains and iron links on jade pillars, pulling the bridge. 7 weapons stood upright on the central platform, emitting dazzling light. Feng Tianling looked at the actual object in amazement, and indeed, things in reality are just beautiful. Go up first with the number 1 jade plaque. Feng Tianling jumped up and the sky began to gather wind, forming a huge vortex accompanied by a faint blue light. Wind spirit root. Purity is 100. Oh my goodness. It's a single variant of sky spirit root. Not finished yet, the sword on the round platform charged towards Feng Tianling, making a buzzing sound. The sword transformed into 206 virtual shadows, soaring in the sky. Oh my god. This is the natural sword body. Feng Tianling. Isn't she the heavenly source body? How did it become a natural sword body again? The person looked at Feng Tianling excitedly, and his voice trembled as he explained, the virtual sword transforms shadows 206 times, corresponding to the bones of the human body, which is called the sword body. The sword body can also be forged by chance, but it requires great opportunity to form, and you are born with the ability to defy heaven. Feng Tianling. So, do I need to repair my sword? Not necessarily. You are still the wind and sky spirit root, and practicing the Dharma is also a genius. Feng Tianling nodded and said, oh. Got it, thank you. The person nodded and continued to test someone's qualifications. Feng Yuchen, a single type of heavenly fire spirit root, with a purity of 100. The person who tested the qualifications was once again excited. What year is it this year? Is it a genius broadcast? Lin Xiaoyin, 5 spirit roots, all with a purity of 100. Xiaobaiwen, 3 spirit roots, gold 90, wood 70, fire 60. Du Yu, single line golden sky spirit root, purity 100. Du Jiangwen, single line wood spirit root, purity 90. Test one by one and recorded in the book. The person who tested the qualifications laughed uncontrollably. This year, there have been a lot more single-type spiritual roots, which is comparable to the total number of single-type spiritual root disciples received in the previous 5 years. If Feng Tianling knew what they were thinking, he could only say that during the time when the female lead was born, many geniuses of the same age would also emerge. Let's go. Go and choose a sect to worship. Feng Tianling has decided to worship the sword sect. She is born with a sword body, and she also wants to learn swordsmanship. Anyway, she should have studied the sword sect. Entering the main hall, Feng Tianling felt the gaze of many real Taoist masters rushing towards her. Feng Tianling straightened her chest. How could she possibly have stage fright? As a C.position debut, she must be domineering. Feng Tianling, which sect do you want to worship? The person asking is Qinghua Zhenren. Qinghua Zhenren is an elder of the Sword Clan. Seeing Feng Tianling, a talented young man with a natural sword body, he wished he could immediately turn him back home. Jiwei Zhenren sneered lightly, Qinghua, put away your strange uncle's gaze, don't scare him. Qinghua refused to be outdone and said, don't think you're not looking at her like that. This guy, at first glance, wants to compete with him. Jiuwei Immortal remained calm and said, I wanted to, what's wrong? She's not only a natural sword body, but also a mutated wind spirit root. Practicing the method is also a genius. Wuling Zhenren spoke weakly and said, why don't you let her learn the Chimenduanjia and Tianji of my Liani sect? Qinghua Zhenren was the first to refuse. No way. This is simply a waste of her sword body qualifications. Jiuwei Zhenren agreed, that's right. This also wastes her ability to learn spells. Wuling Zhenren was also a bit annoyed at the moment. But she performed so well in the trial. She clearly has the qualifications in this area. Wuyo Daojun and Shini said, let the children choose for themselves. Qinghua Zhenren remained speechless and closed his mouth, saying, okay. Feng Tianling looked at the real people bickering and found it amusing. It turned out that these people who had lived for hundreds of years would also argue like children. After making up her mind, Feng Tianling angrily made a choice and said, I will choose the sword sect. Qinghua smiled happily and said, dolls have vision. After speaking, Qinghua cast a proud look at Jiuwei. Jiuwei. What's your aura? Humph. Anyway, there are still several single spiritual roots. After selecting their disciples one by one, several real people each took out flying boats to return to their sect. Qinghua Zhenren became more and more fond of Feng Tianling as he looked at him. Whenever he thought that the mischievous old disciples of Huizong would see such a little child with a heavenly spirit root and a natural sword body, they would definitely start fighting, and he wanted to laugh. Thinking of this, Qinghua Zhenren couldn't wait to accelerate the speed of returning to the sect. A moment, here we are. Everyone come down. The little radish heads came down one by one and were then led to the main hall to pay their respects to the leader. Feng Tianling looked at the disciples practicing swordsmanship and the people guarding swordsmanship in the sky, and his heart couldn't help but feel surging. He also yearned for sword cultivation in his heart. In front of the main hall, Feng Tianling looked at the plaque, which read four big characters. One sword breaks the sky, bold and unrestrained, with a grand and upscale appearance. Feng Tianling was mesmerized at first glance. With a sword breaking through the sky, she seemed to see herself holding a sword and breaking through the sky. The sword's aura was overwhelming, with a ground-breaking and earth-breaking momentum attacking her. Feng Tianling regained his senses, and everyone went in. Only Qinghua Zhenren looked at Feng Tianling with a sigh on his face. The people sitting in the hall were all so excited that they could understand the swordsmanship on the door plaque before they even got started. It's like being self-taught in swordsmanship. Feng Tianling calmed down and apologized with a bow of embarrassment, I've wasted time. Qinghua Zhenren quickly waved his hand and said, it's okay. If you could understand for a longer time, I would be happier. Feng Tianling walked into the hall and paid his respects to the sect leader and all the respected ones. The girl's name is Tianling. Tianling doll, come and worship under my door. The sword righteous venerable came straight to the point. The swordsmanship venerable snatched up and said, Heavenly Ling join my sect. All the male cultivators under my sect are handsome and extraordinary, and I will definitely take good care of you. Sword righteous venerable frowned and said, you're an old immortal. Are you the only one under your sect who looks good? My sect's men are even more extraordinary. The sword music venerable is not in a hurry. Why not bow down to my sect? My swordsmanship is elegant and agile, most suitable for female cultivation. The sword and music master has the most female cultivators under her sect, which is quite suitable for Feng Tianling. But Feng Tianling is not allowed to worship them. She wants to worship the ancestor of the sword sect, which is the most powerful swordsmanship ancestor in the original work. He was also the first person to soar after the female protagonist broke the seal of the mainland. She needs to hug her thick thighs. The master of sword poetry presided over the overall situation and said, Tianlingwa, who do you want to worship as your teacher? Feng Tianling thought for a moment and said, I want to worship the sword saint as my teacher. Sword saint, sword art saint, ancestor of one sword sect. The sword poetry venerable said, have you come up with a plan? Feng Tianling's eyes were firm. Think it out. No matter how difficult it is, she will succeed. She must have a strong background, so even if her other constitution is accidentally exposed and she wants to be moved, she must think carefully. And with the sword saint as her teacher, her strength will quickly increase. She can also show off her identity and become popular. The master of sword poetry is not surprised by Feng Tianling's idea, because in the past, many proud sons of heaven wanted to worship the sword saint, but most of them were unsuccessful in the end. To become a disciple of the sword saint, you must spend 1 year outside the sect, understand the meaning of the sword, participate in the annual external sect competition, and then your ancestor will accept you if he sees you as pleasing. Feng Tianling can tell that it's mainly because it depends on your liking before accepting you. Feng Tianling didn't even think about it and said, no problem. Anyway, she cultivates quickly enough, don't worry, the most important thing is to keep up with her mood. Although she has adult thoughts, her understanding in the cultivation world is like that of a baby, and she still needs to go to a broader world to understand this world. Feng Tianling had a fighting spirit on her face, fearless of difficulties, and full of vitality. Sword righteous venerable. With her innate sword body and spiritual roots, Grandmaster will definitely be interested in her. You just need to take her to recommend her to Grandmaster. Why is she doing this now? To waste a year by leaving the door open is simply a waste of one's talent. For geniuses, we cannot let go of a minute or a second. Sword poetry venerable. This is a good child, but her mind is restless. A good jade needs polishing. Going to the outside world to polish it is the most suitable. As for the sword intention, it is just an excuse to motivate her. Upon hearing this, the sword righteous venerable suddenly realized, senior brother, you still have the highest opinion. The world of cultivating immortals is a cruel one. It is best to recognize them early and provide timely guidance, even if the process is not very beautiful. I don't know what was written in chapter 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sword poetry venerable came to the sword saint's cave and bowed back, ancestor, I wonder what you think of Feng Tianling, this little doll. In fact, the master of sword poetry hopes that her ancestors will accept her. After all, Feng Tianling can understand the artistic conception of the sword on the plaque, and it is a natural sword body, which indicates that she has a strong talent for swordsmanship. In time, their sword sect will definitely produce another genius sword cultivator. The sword saint, dressed in white, came out of the cave and stood in front of sword poetry, asking in reverse, what do you think? Sword poem. He is a talented young person, he praised without hesitation. The sword saint remained silent and said, compared to my 3 disciples, what do you think? Jianshi knows that the sword saint has 3 disciples who have a close relationship. Only one of them is a single spiritual root, and the rest are double spiritual roots, but they all have demon-like qualifications in swordsmanship. Jianshi expressed his thoughts like a salesperson, apart from his inner nature, there is nothing inferior to it. Jianshi is very confident, he never sees people wrong. The sword saint smiled and said, how do you know that her understanding of swordsmanship is definitely comparable to those 3 kids? Jianshi saw a play and continued, why don't I make a bet with Shizu? The sword saint raised his eyebrows and said, what are you betting on? Jianshi pondered for a moment and said, bet on Feng Tianling to develop his sword spirit within a year. His 3 junior martial uncles all developed their swordsmanship within a year of entering the workforce, truly making them the geniuses among the geniuses. The sword saint didn't believe it much and said, are you sure? She's currently on the outside door. At that time, all 3 of his disciples were directly targeted by him, and he took them home to teach them carefully. There is a shortage of external resources, a large and chaotic population, and a poor education system. Without teachers to teach, if you want to lay a solid foundation, you must work hard on your own. So it's almost impossible to cultivate swordsmanship in such an environment. Jianshi nodded and said, He really wanted his master to accept Feng Tianling, and of course, a good seedling must be taught by a good master. The sword saint waved his hand helplessly and said, "All right. I promise." He was born with a sword-like body, and if he doesn't accept such a talent, it would be unacceptable. The sword saint smiled slightly and said, "Is there anything else?" Jianshi knew that his ancestor was going to drive people away, so he bowed and said, "Master Zheng, please leave." The sword saint waved his hand and returned to the cave. On the other side, Feng Tianling went to the outer door and looked at the dilapidated wooden house and a dusty storage bag. Inside the storage bag, there was a wooden sword, several Pigu pills, and Juling pills. There is also a grey Taoist robe on the bed, but the fabric is extremely poor. Feng Tianling couldn't help but gasp. Has the one sword sect become so poor? I finally understand why there are very few candidates for the sword sect. TMD is so poor. Why is Jianshi so poor? However, Feng Tianling still accepted her fate and started working on renovating the small house she would be staying in for the next year after obtaining her identity card. Feng Tianling held a wooden sword and began chopping bamboo. She wanted to chop some bamboo and go back to renovate the small dilapidated house. Feng Tianling held a wooden sword, infused with spiritual power, and swung it vigorously. A gust of wind blew by, causing the bamboo to shake and drop a few leaves. Feng Tianling looked at the wooden sword that broke with just one strike, and then at the bamboo that remained motionless. Hee, what kind of wooden sword, 3 no products. Feng Tianling was furious and kicked the bamboo, which happened to break at that moment. Feng Tianling was smashed right in the face. Ah! My head. Feng Tianling greeted the ancestors of bamboo for 18 generations in his heart. Bamboo. Blame me, right? I didn't ask you to chop me off again. Sigma. Feng Tianling stood up, went under another bamboo, kicked it with his foot, and it broke. Feng Tianling. Is she so powerful? Then, before Feng Tianling could regain his senses, all the bamboo had broken and was in a mess. Feng Tianling looked at the broken wooden sword in his hand. It seemed that he had just exerted too much force, not that the wooden sword had 3 no products. Wooden sword. But I broke it. Feng Tianling stuffed the bamboo into the storage bag and immediately ran away. She cut down the bamboo forest where others practiced swordsmanship, so why don't she run away quickly? Which bastard has cut down all the bamboo forest that I have worked hard to cultivate? It's best to pray not to let me pull it out. The steward jumped up in anger and cursed. Feng Tianling touched her nose, feeling a bit embarrassed, but she wouldn't be foolish enough to go out and admit her mistake. Tianling. Here. Xiaobaiwen chose to become a sword cultivator and join the one sword sect because she had the 3 spirit roots qualification. Feng Tianling looked at Xiaobaiwen and didn't expect him to be here. Feng Tianling walked towards Xiaobaiwen and greeted him briefly. How have you been these days? Xiaobaiwen's face turned red and he replied in a soft voice, that's it. He didn't know how to talk about being bullied. Feng Tianling saw that he had not revealed the truth and it was difficult to ask further, so he began to eat. Feng Tianling. Do you still remember me? Du Shanshan looked at Feng Tianling. Feng Tianling looked over, didn't remember, didn't know. Du Shanshan muttered to herself, Feng Tianling, even though you have good qualifications, you are just like me, an outsider disciple. Miss, I will definitely surpass you in the future and step on you. Feng Tianling. His head is full of question marks. Is this person mentally troubled? Feng Tianling ignored and continued to eat her meal. Seeing that Xiaobaiwen was eating vegetarian dishes, he kindly gave him some meat. Xiaobaiwen waved his hand and thank you, but no need. He was too embarrassed to eat girls' food. Feng Tianling said, eat more, you have strength. You are my friend, don't be polite to me. Feng Tianling's old aunt felt uneasy as she watched a teenage child eat vegetarian meals. Her conscience couldn't bear it. Du Shanshan saw that the two of them ignored her, so she shouted, you two are bullying me. How dare you ignore me? Feng Tianling. Ignoring her is bullying people. Feng Tianling stood up and approached Du Shanshan. Du Shanshan instinctively retreated until she stepped back against the wall. Feng Tianling gave her a thud, lifted her chin, and thought of the exclusive language of the domineering CEO. She said, woman, don't make trouble for no reason. Where has Du Shanshan heard such words before? Her brain suddenly stopped and went blank. Feng Tianling jumped off the bench and rose about her own height again. Du Shanshan regained her senses and looked at Feng Tianling fiercely, saying, I will come back again. Then he covered his face and ran out. Feng Tianling shrugged and returned to his seat to continue cooking. There is a dedicated classroom outside, and after teaching, one relies entirely on their own thinking and understanding. Feng Tianling is quite interested in the classroom here, so she woke up early. Du Shanshan looked at Feng Tianling, feeling very uncomfortable. She just disliked Feng Tianling because she was better than her in everything. When she was in Lingtian City, she had an elder brother who doted on her as much as possible and a family who treated her extremely well. Her aptitude and appearance were also excellent, and everyone in the city said that she was the pride of heaven. She was the envy of all the girls in the city, and of course, she was also the envy of others. So, when she saw Feng Tianling, she couldn't help but mock her a few words. However, she felt that she had no reason to dislike her, and that she had not been offended. It was just that she had always been jealous in her heart, and she felt very detestable. So today, Du Shanshan actually wanted to apologize to Feng Tianling, but she didn't know how to tell them. Feng Tianling caught a glimpse of Du Shanshan's conflicted expression, not understanding her expression, and turned to look away. Du Shanshan stood up and walked towards Feng Tianling. She blushed and said to Feng Tianling, I'm sorry I hurt you last time. I didn't mean to. Feng Tianling looked at her in surprise, obviously not expecting her to apologize. Du Shanshan was surprised when she saw Feng Tianling, so she added, I hated you when I was in Lingtian City. Who said you were mostly someone else's child from a young age, so I couldn't help but mock you at that time. But later on, I realized that you didn't provoke me either. It was wrong of me to do that, so I apologize to you. Feng Tianling understood after hearing this. It turned out that it was due to a desire for comparison. Feng Tianling pinched Du Shanshan's face. It's normal for children to have jealousy, but they need timely guidance and guidance. Feng Tianling thought for a moment and decided to turn the child's values around. You only think that I am someone else's child. Have you ever thought about being that kind of person yourself? Du Shanshan's eyes darkened and she said, of course I have. However, my talent is limited. Everyone wants to become that kind of person, but that only belongs to the proud son of heaven. Feng Tianling's expression was solemn, with both hands resting on Du Shanshan's shoulders. Only by fighting hard can we win, go. Pikachu. Du Shanshan was momentarily stunned, and for a moment she said a sentence. Ah. Chapter 9. Task Leading Experience. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the beginning of the course, Feng Tianling had nowhere to put her hands. Feng Tianling couldn't help feeling guilty as she watched everyone take out their wooden swords. She had already broken it for herself. Where's your wooden sword? The instructor asked. Feng Tianling's eyes were wandering, and he touched his nose. I said I cut it off, do you believe me? Instructor. What about things? Feng Tianling took out a wooden sword that was broken into 2 sections. So, it's normal that Feng Tianling was punished with 10,000 sword strikes. Feng Tianling. Crying, I didn't mean to. After splitting 1,000 times, Feng Tianling began to feel powerless, but he couldn't use spiritual power to nourish him. Feng Tianling felt that his hands were about to be weak at this point. Diverting attention is the best decision. So, Feng Tianling looked at the wooden sword in her hand and calmed down to recall the scene when she was chopping bamboo. She had injected all her spiritual power into the wooden sword, but the sword couldn't bear it, so it broke. But the result was obviously very powerful. She used the sword as a medium to emit spiritual power in the form of sword energy. However, if she can move 1,000 pounds in 4 or 2, she can achieve the maximum effect with the least amount of force, just like a lever. Feng Tianling tried to inject spiritual power, compressing it to purity. At this moment, the wooden sword was coated with a faint light. When splitting out, Feng Tianling unconsciously exerted force again. The wooden sword has broken again. Feng Tianling. Habit harms me. Degree. Feng Tianling made such a big commotion again, and the mentor naturally saw it and said, practice another 1,000 times. Feng Tianling resigned and continued to practice. Feng Tianling finished practicing and it was already evening. As soon as she returned to the room, she fell asleep and no one could wake her up. The next day, when Feng Tianling woke up, it was almost noon and all the classes were over. When Feng Tianling arrived, he only saw the mentor's stinky face. Feng Tianling was punished again. Today, he practiced 20,000 times, and Feng Tianling cried and looked sad. If you feel bitter, why are you here to practice swordsmanship? Said the mentorling. Buting. Feng Tianling said, feeling bitter doesn't conflict with practicing swordsmanship. The mentor said, what was your original intention for practicing swordsmanship? Feng Tianling thought for a moment and said, cool. It's amazing to say it out loud. The mentor said, you don't have a sword heart yet. It's difficult to become a great talent just by working hard. Feng Tianling smiled and said, I'm not working hard. The one sword sect is at least a major sect. How could it be so poor that it cannot even afford a powerful sword weapon? To give a wooden sword is to lay a solid foundation and learn to control its strength, rather than blindly chopping, which not only weakens the attack but also wastes energy. Of course, it cannot be said that there is no reason for poverty. Epsilon system. Feng Tianling saw through this and only then did he try to wield his wooden sword. If it weren't for this layer, even if you broke her leg, she wouldn't have practiced. The mentor glanced at Feng Tianling and said, you look like this. You can practice swordsmanship within a year and become a ghost. Feng Tianling doesn't care, she's just starting to learn about sword intention. Let's lay a solid foundation first. Fundamentals are often overlooked, but it is difficult to supplement them later on. 3 months have passed, and Feng Tianling has laid a solid foundation for practicing swordsmanship. Every time he enters the next move, Feng Tianling will practice tens of thousands of times, reaching the level of perfection. So, compared to others, Feng Tianling lags behind a lot and is considered by others to have average talent in swordsmanship. Feng Tianling did not refute, remained very low-key and inconspicuous, practicing alone. Feng Tianling is such a contradictory person who enjoys loneliness and doing what she likes on her own. But when it comes to treating her family and friends, she is also very enthusiastic and lively. She enjoys a peaceful life. Feng Tianling swung the basic skills of swordsmanship to one side and satisfactorily dropped the wooden sword. The wooden sword doesn't know what to make. It's as heavy as the tripod. Feng Tianling roast for many times. Feng Tianling began practicing swordsmanship, which was found in the exquisite soft jade and named Tai Shang Forget Love. The moves were ruthless, deadly, and had strong attack power. The most important thing is that it's very cool. Cough, it's off. The main thing is that this is a sword technique created by several generations of sword immortals, and each sword cultivator will come up with their own sword technique. Only those who have come up with it on their own are truly their own and can be used more easily. This book, Tai Shang Forget Love, records the moves of several masters who have practiced swordsmanship, but they have not finished writing them yet. Feng Tianling decided to fill them in once he realizes his swordsmanship, so he practiced this sword technique. Feng Tianling also chose a book without a name, which is a solitary volume with both attack and defense sword styles, suitable for basic use. Sword techniques are all pre-trained, and once she realizes the meaning of the sword, she doesn't need these anymore. The essence of sword cultivation lies in the sword spirit, but few people can comprehend it. Feng Tianling has chosen a sword, which is a top-dot quality treasure. There are immortal artifacts in the exquisite soft jade, but it is not something that Feng Tianling, a little chi training chicken, can touch. In fact, it was also difficult for her to use the top-dot quality treasure, but at least it could be used, so she just made do with it. Feng Tianling finished laying the foundation and didn't go to class. She was practicing swordsmanship alone in the yard, and she didn't want to be disturbed. She just created a formation and was happy to be alone. And those venerable beings occasionally pay attention to Feng Tianling, realizing that she has been in seclusion all along, and can't help but sigh. How can this temper one's character? Also, don't you feel bored staying alone? Aren't children naturally lively? If Feng Tianling knew what they were thinking, she would only smile, but you don't know the happiness of the otaku. Gradually, another 3 months passed, and Feng Tianling lived a leisurely life like a fish, eating, practicing swordsmanship, and sleeping, feeling very happy. She has practiced all the swordsmanship of Tai Shang Forget Love. Although each move is very standard and powerful, Feng Tianling always feels that something is missing. It seems that there is a lack of spiritual energy and flexibility, which has a somewhat rigid connotation. Feng Tianling felt that she should go to practice and apply what she had learned to life, just like an exam, to test herself, and realized that what she had learned was insufficient. After Feng Tianling understood, he went to the task hall to collect the task. Each disciple of a sect is required to make contributions to the sect, with a fixed contribution of 20 per year. Then, you can claim the task points and exchange them for the spiritual herbs, pills, or treasures you need. Feng Tianling led 3 tasks. One was to kill the second-level monster, the other was to pick the Tianya lotus, and the remaining was to make a mandatory contribution, picking the spirit moon grass. Feng Tianling took the task card and left, constantly practicing to seek breakthroughs. Sword cultivation is to enhance her strength through continuous battles. Tianling. Let's go together, said Du Shanshan. Feng Tianling looked at Du Shanshan and said, congratulations, you have broken through the 5th level of Qi cultivation. Du Shanshan has the 3 spirit roots qualification, and breaking through the 5th level of Qi cultivation at the age of 10 is already considered good. Du Shanshan said, it's thanks to you. If it weren't for timely resolution of the knot, she wouldn't have broken through. Feng Tianling said, the key is with you, don't thank me. She didn't say anything, it was all thought through by Du Shanshan herself, and it had nothing to do with her. Feng Tianling looked at the task cards in his hand, which were suitable for later stages of Qi cultivation, and said, Shanshan, these tasks are quite dangerous. Du Shanshan's face turned disheartened and she said, all right. I know now, isn't my cultivation enough? Du Shanshan looked at Feng Tianling and said from the bottom of her heart, be careful. I don't want my genius friend to die on a small task. Feng Tianling joked, don't worry. Even if you die, you will still die before me. Du Shanshan immediately put on a sad expression and said, I misread you. Humph. Du Shanshan stomped her feet and turned around before leaving, like a proud peacock. Chapter 10. Feng Aotian jumps from a cliff, with a strong mind and character. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Feng Tianling didn't find a team because she was able to handle these tasks alone. Feng Tianling first went to find the second-level demon beast, but did not encounter it. Suddenly, Feng Tianling heard a shout. Help! It was a girl's voice, but it was very awkward and piercing, with a hint of crying. Feng Tianling frowned and felt two little people fighting in her heart. One clamored to take a look, while the other clamored not to cause any trouble. Feng Tianling sighed, still unable to ignore life. Let's take a look at this character. If it's pleasing to the eye, save it. If it's not pleasing to the eye, seek blessings for yourself. She is a girl with 6 levels of chi refining, facing a second-level monster. Feng Tianling was overjoyed and dozed off to give a pillow. It was indeed the right choice to come and see. She searched for a long time but couldn't find a second-level monster. Natural selection, if Feng Tianling could kill this monster, this prey would belong to Feng Tianling and not be considered a snatch. Feng Tianling kindly lifted the girl out and then fought against the monster alone. The girl showed a triumphant smile under her expression of excessive fear. However, the smile was shallow and short-lived, making it easy to ignore, let alone Feng Tianling, who was immersed in practicing swordsmanship with that demon beast. At the beginning, Feng Tianling was very stiff when using his swordsmanship, feeling a bit confused about how to proceed. So, at the beginning, she was at a disadvantage, but soon Feng Tianling integrated into the realm, mastered the method, and slowly gained the upper hand. The girl beside her watched quietly, not caring about either Feng Tianling or the monster dying. Anyway, in the end, both of them had to die. Feng Tianling shouted angrily, forgetting Love's sword technique. A sharp sword aura attacked the monster, and a large opening appeared on its back, causing blood to flow out. The monster let out a painful howl, and its eyes turned red as it began to collide. Feng Tianling smiled and gave the monster a final blow, which was fatal. After killing the monster, Feng Tianling suddenly realized something: how could she kill so smoothly? She thought she couldn't do it, but in the end, she blushed and killed it without any obstacles in her heart. Feng Tianling endured the smell of blood and peeled off the inner pill of the monster, no longer looking at the monster with a very miserable appearance. She looked at her hand and thought that she might kill someone again in the future, which made her feel a bit guilty, but soon, she won't have the thought of guilt anymore, brothers. Don't come out yet. The nun watched as Feng Tianling finished killing the monster and curled her lips with a smile, completely devoid of the fear she had just shown. After the nun finished shouting, several figures emerged from the hidden grass and surrounded Feng Tianling in all directions. Feng Tianling didn't show any fear when she saw herself surrounded. There are a total of 5 people, and the highest cultivation level is only 10 levels of Qi cultivation. The rest are 7 or 8 levels of Qi cultivation, while female cultivators are 6 levels of Qi cultivation. Little doll, hand over your storage bag, maybe we can spare your life, said a rugged-looking male cultivator. Hee hee. There's so much nonsense. Feng Tianling rolled his eyes and said, I'll kill you after I take the storage bag. Do you think they're blind? The female cultivator became impatient and said, do you hear me? Don't talk nonsense. Take action. Feng Tianling seized the opportunity and headed towards the weakest female cultivator. Her sword energy shook her apart, causing her to spit out blood. The female cultivator gave a fierce look and stared at Feng Tianling maliciously, you dare to hit me. Feng Tianling's head has raised a black line, only allow you to hit me, and not allow me to counterattack. What nonsense, my brain is sick. Feng Tianling used his sword technique, which was sharp and full of killing intent. The two sides faced off for a long time, but did not see any signs of defeat from each other. The day shift with 10 levels of Qi cultivation is a bit difficult. Looking at Feng Tianling, it is clear that he is only practicing Qi at 7 levels. How come his spiritual power is even more than his reserve of chi at 10 levels? Besides, she's still picking out 5 of them. Perhaps there is a treasure. Thinking of this, the day shift will definitely win over Feng Tianling. Sure. The day shift showed a greedy gaze. Feng Tianling naturally saw his gaze and felt a wave of nausea. Feng Tianling didn't want to waste any time with them and directly struck one of them with a sword. That person was unlucky and didn't avoid it, and was shut down with a single sword. Those people were all angry when they saw this, and their attack on Feng Tianling was even more fierce. Feng Tianling became more proficient in the use of swordsmanship and was very agile when fighting against them. The sword shadow seemed to come to life, dancing in the sunlight, dazzling and dazzling. Feng Tianling looked at the situation and said that they would not stop until they were all killed. Thinking of this, Feng Tianling became even more ruthless. Feng Tianling didn't have time to think about killing someone herself. Even if the smell of blood was strong, she couldn't care. Soon, Feng Tianling gradually broke through their siege and killed them one by one, leaving only the day shift. The day shift was very scared and begged for mercy. "Don't kill me. I'll give you everything." Obviously, he had done this before. Feng Tianling chuckled lightly and said, "Do you think you treat everyone in the world like fools? If I kill you directly, your things will have no owner and I still need you to give them to me." The day shift felt embarrassed and said, "Bitch. Don't give face." Anyway, he was going to die, and he also had to pull a cushion to avenge his brother. The day class swallowed the explosive spirit pill, and their cultivation instantly skyrocketed by 3 levels to build a foundation. Feng Tianling's heart sank and he secretly thought it was not good. Immediately take out the speed symbol, stick it to your leg and run without stopping for a moment. The day shift caught up with the situation and couldn't let this slut go. Feng Tianling couldn't help but reflect as he watched the day shift chasing closely behind him. She relied on her natural talent to elevate herself and did not take them seriously. Even if she guessed that the woman was deceitful, she did not take it to heart and believed that she had the ability to escape, so she stood up. She still hasn't delved into the realm of cultivation, treating herself as someone here. She used to have a ridiculous idea of always being a good boy, but now she has really beaten her face. She also realized that danger is everywhere. We cannot ignore every detail, we cannot be blindly arrogant, and more importantly, she will really die here. She must always remember that this is the cultivation world. This is a world full of deceit, with cultivators and geniuses falling every day. It is full of crises everywhere, and we must always remain vigilant. She sighed and learned from her mistakes. She won't have another chance. Looking at the day shift behind her, she couldn't help but accelerate a bit. She didn't want to die at the hands of a passerby. Stepping back to the cliff, Feng Tianling couldn't help but turn pale. He didn't know how to wield swords during the chi refining period. The day shift smiled and said, "I'll see how you run." Ha ha ha. God really helps me. Feng Tianling's mouth curled up and mocked him, saying, "A person like you will end up dead. And even if I jump down, I won't die, I will still get a chance." She didn't want the day shift to be happy, so she wanted to add obstacles to the day shift and block him. After hearing this, the day shift was furious and rushed towards Feng Tianling, saying, "You." Feng Tianling saw that he was about to explode, so he gritted his teeth and jumped down. Her body has always been strong, so she shouldn't be able to fall to death. Feng Tianling prayed in her heart, she only wanted to live. During the period of falling off the cliff, she remembered many things and people, both bad and good. She wants to live, she works hard to cultivate, and getting rid of the plot is also to live. She cultivates immortality. Is it really for immortality? No. She lives to be carefree and free, without having to worry all day long. She wants to become stronger, not to oppress others, but to protect herself and her loved ones. At this moment, her desire for strength reached its peak. She thought for a while, and her fear in her heart also decreased significantly. Feng Tianling opened her eyes and looked at the sky, which was still particularly blue. Unfortunately, she still wants to see it again. Feng Tianling looked down again, still unable to see the bottom, and couldn't help but frown. Is a cliff so deep? Feng Tianling looked down at Hybology and couldn't help but feel depressed. Actually, death is not scary, what's scary is the process of waiting for death for a long time. Feng Tianling fell to the ground in his sleep. He felt his internal organs and bones break, vomited blood, and then fainted. It hurts me so much.